Welcome to Our Canada, Our Future. I'm Aaron Woodrick. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the Pope's recent visit to Canada to apologize for the Catholic Church's role in the tragedy that was Canada's Indian residential school system. And to discuss it, I'm very pleased to be joined by Melissa Mbarki, a policy analyst at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show today.
Melissa, before we get into your thoughts on the Pope's visit, I thought it might be helpful for viewers to know a bit about your own story and your own connection to the residential school system.
So I grew up in a community that has or did have an open residential school. I went to school with these children. They were part of our community when they were at the school. And, the kind of lives that they lived after they left was very tragic. And, to see them growing up, dealing with all kinds of, social and economic issues, it was just a really sad thing to watch, not only in my community, but in other communities as well. My grandma's also a survivor of a residential school. So we've seen that, trickle through our family. And we've seen the devastation that it did cause within my own family. And I look at her relationship with my mother, and it was often very trying. So, you know, I've seen the impacts that these schools have had, not only on the individual but on communities as well. And it wasn't a very good experience, seeing it firsthand. But what I can take from that, are the challenges that we face, and also advocating for what we need in our communities.
So yeah, some firsthand experience that you have with this. It's a very personal issue. So I guess I wanted to ask you then, when you first heard that the Pope, because I know there had been demands for a long time that the Catholic Church should apologize. When you first heard that he was coming to apologize, what was your reaction?
I thought, the timing of it was off. They could have done this, they could have made this apology when the last school had closed in 1997. My grandma wasn't around to hear it, but, I embraced it on her behalf. I think it would have been something that she would have wanted to hear as a survivor. It maybe would have helped her put closure to some of the things that she experienced. And if for some, accounts from other survivors, it was what they needed to hear to heal. So it had its benefits, to the survivors, but then there were some who thought it was just another apology, and it was just another day. And, there's been mixed reactions in our communities, which always happens. And, we process it as we go. And hopefully, for some it meant something to them, and hopefully for others we can learn and, grow from it.
Speaking of yourself personally, I know you mentioned there's mixed reactions. Did you listen to the words that the Pope spoke during his visit? Did they resonate for you? Was there anything meaningful in what you heard?
The words definitely resonated with me. He called these schools what they were. They were not schools for an education. They weren't schools to educate our children and to ensure that they went to university. That's not what these schools were for. They were for assimilation. They were to assimilate the child and basically take our culture, our language, to take everything that we know about who we are away. And he acknowledged that. And to me, that meant a lot, because now we're getting into this discussion of what they really were and the harmful impacts that they had on survivors. And, that was a turning point for me, because this was never acknowledged in the past. And to actually get to that point where, he's calling it a genocide, he called it, it was an assimilation of these children, that resonated with a lot of people, not the apology itself, but what these schools actually were.
Right. I guess also for those who didn't feel that the apology was enough, for folks in the Indigenous community that thought that, well, that's nice that you've said those words. What more are they calling for? What more do you think specifically from the Catholic Church needs to be done that's more substantive?
What's being called for is rescinding the doctrine of discovery. Personally, I don't know how this is going to help people. I don't know if it's an ask that's actually going to be doable in my lifetime. They're just asking for things that just seem like we cannot achieve that. We need to start asking for more tangible things like treatment centers, counseling, elders, getting these programs into our communities. That's what we need to start asking for. And these are things that are much needed today.
Yes, great points. Okay, we're going to take a very short break and we're going to be back right after these messages.